Chapter 2, Hollow Bastion. Riku and King Mickey each sat on a boulder watching the sunset, just like Riku used to do with Sora and Kairi. How long ago was that now? It must have been ages, and yet the memory felt like it had happened just yesterday.
I'd like to go home, if we can, Riku thought, but the way I am now, I can't.
This was the path he'd chosen for himself.
We'd better get going,
King Mickey said to Riku.
Right.
Riku got to his feet. They'd spoken about many things, about everything that had happened and what might lie ahead. In truth, he wanted to go with King Mickey, but there were things that he had to take care of on his own.
If you take the corridors of darkness, you can come and go between the worlds wherever you want. You know how to do that, right?
Yeah.
One spin around King Mickey had been painful enough for Riku to travel through corridors alone. And now, because of that, he'd gained enormous power, and the form of a different person. He wasn't sure if that was good or bad. Only a sliver of sun remained above the horizon, and dusk painted the sky pale violet.
Your Majesty, I want you to promise me something.
At that, King Mickey finally stood up.
What's that?
Even if you meet Sora or the others, promise you won't tell them about me.
Okay, I won't.
King Mickey gave him a solemn nod. Riku began to walk away across the sand.
Well, I'm off.
Riku, he heard King Mickey call after him.
We'll be apart, you know, but it'll be all right.
Riku looked back at him.
You're not alone, Riku.
He'd heard those words before. That was what the king had told him in that castle, Castle Oblivion.
Yeah, I know. You and Sora and everyone else. You're always with me.
Riku smiled. King Mickey nodded in reply.
See you, Your Majesty.
With that, Riku stepped into the gap in space yawning before him, the corridor of darkness. The gummy ship flew on through the other sky. Can't see a thing, Donald announced with his bill against the porthole. Sora joined in and smushed his face against the glass to look outside.
Nope, nothing. But King Mickey got the gummy ship all ready for us, didn't he?
Sora, Donald, come here. I can see something that-a-way.
Goofy called, likewise pressed against the opposite porthole.
Where?
What? Where? The other two dashed over to him. Donald climbed atop Goofy, and Sora poked his head up under Goofy's snout.
You're squishing me,
Goofy protested. You're in the way, snapped Donald. Look, there it is. All pressed up against the little porthole, pushing and shoving, they could see a world floating in the distance. Only one? Sora complained as the gummy ship drifted closer. That's not enough, Donald said glumly, and finally hopped down off Goofy. Goofy gazed fixedly at the lone world.
But I think it's a world we know.
I don't know. Sora sounded a bit uncertain, his nose still on the window.
Look, there's a castle in the middle of it,
Goofy pointed out. Donald promptly clambered atop him again and squinted. It's Hollow Bastion, he exclaimed, bouncing. You're right. After Sora's head knocked into Goofy's chin, he happily thought aloud. I wonder how everyone's doing. The gummy ship sped closer to Hollow Bastion.
Maleficent! Maleficent?
A harsh male voice echoed through the quiet halls. This was a place where evil had once dwelt, the empty fortress, Hollow Bastion. Pete glanced furtively about the grand hall, wandering around at a loss. The castle was much changed from when Sora had come in search of Kairi. No one seemed to be here at all, leaving it even more lonely and decrepit.
Maybe they really did finish her off,
Pete muttered nervously.
And this castle sure ain't like I heard about neither. No shine, no nothing. Now what's gonna happen to our plan?
Crestfallen, he hung his head. An enormous window in the grand hall overlooked the town. Steam rose from the buildings below, proving that people lived there. The streets even looked cheerful, which also didn't match up with what Maleficent had told him. A single raven alighted on the window ledge and made a raucous caw.
Maleficent?
Pete mumbled, and the bird flew into the hall. Sora bounded out of the gummy ship and hopped again for sheer joy. It is Hollow Bastion! Donald and Goofy followed him out and took in the scene.
Gosh, it looks kinda different now,
Goofy wondered aloud, gazing up at the castle in the distance. I hope Leon and the gang are doing okay. Hoping to find them right away, Donald took off over the brick-paved square and leaped back in surprise. Quack! What's the matter, Donald? Then Sora jumped too. Whoa! There was a mass of a Heartless in front of them.
Guess we better gear up for more fighting, huh?
Goofy said under his breath. All right, here we go! Sora called. They charged, Donald with his wand and Goofy with his shield, and before long the swarm was defeated, releasing the trapped hearts and dissipating. That was quick! Sora grinned, resting the Keyblade across his shoulders. I guess this is the town market, Donald said, looking around. Heartless didn't often come where there were lots of people, the same as Traverse Town. Uncle Donald! Someone called suddenly. Donald turned. Whack! The voice belonged to one of his nephews, Louie, perched on a shop counter.
Gee, it's been a long time.
Goofy ran up to the window. Sora followed.
So you're still running a store, huh?
Yep, good to see you, Sora. Apparently the brothers, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, managed shops here and there around town. Uncle Scrooge is here too, Dewey called from across the street. He is? Donald whirled. Who's that? Sora whispered to Goofy. The name wasn't familiar.
Donald's uncle. He's a big businessman, Goofy replied. Before the Heartless showed up, he was traveling on the gummy ship with the king. He was gonna help set up a traffic system.
Transit system, Donald corrected him peevishly. Uncle Scrooge is over that way, Huey pointed, and Donald scurried off. Sora and Goofy rushed to catch up. Slow down, Donald! Uncle Scrooge? Donald called to a gentleman duck and a silk hat in front of a building that appeared to be an enormous freezer.
What's all the racket?
The gentleman in question turned around. He had some kind of ice pop in his hand.
Why, if it isn't Donald. Hello there, lad.
Scrooge hopped in surprise, just like Donald often did, and smiled warmly. The family resemblance was striking. He wore a pair of spectacles and a blue suit.
And Goofy too. Aye, you both look hale and hearty.
So do you, Uncle Scrooge. But Scrooge's face fell at Donald's reply.
Ah, if only I was. I've been trying to recreate my favorite old-time ice cream. Thought I'd make a pretty penny.
Ice cream? Sora blurted, poking his head in between Donald and Goofy.
Who's this now?
Scrooge asked. I'm Sora. After this brief introduction, he stared intently at the ice pop Scrooge was holding. He's our friend, Donald explained. Scrooge peered with interest at Sora.
Do you like ice cream, lad?
Yeah, Sora nodded, his gaze intensifying. It had been forever since he'd had a treat like that, he thought, unconsciously leaning in. And yet, he got the feeling he had had one somewhere. It must have been home on Destiny Islands. And yet it wasn't.
What's wrong, Sora?
Asked Goofy, seeing Sora's confusion.
Oh, it's nothing. Mr. Scrooge, could I have one?
Sora's expression returned to a hopeful grin. Scrooge heaved a sigh.
Well, you can have this one, but you see...
Really? Thanks, Mr. Scrooge. Sora took it from Scrooge's hand.
Oh no, I should warn you.
I can't wait! Ignoring Scrooge's attempts to stop him, Sora chomped down on the ice cream bar. Ugh! He held it at arm's length and scrunched up his face in disgust. Donald took the ice pop and sniffed it before taking a bite. It's awful! He made the same face as Sora, and then Goofy tried it.
Gee, it's pretty bad,
Goofy said mournfully. What is that? It doesn't taste like ice cream. It's bitter, Sora complained.
I did try to warn you,
Scrooge said with another sigh, and his shoulders slumped.
I haven't been able to get it right.
What kind of ice cream is it supposed to be? Donald asked.
I don't quite remember myself.
That would make it pretty tough.
Goofy crossed his arms and sighed too. Beside him, Sora stamped his foot. Aw, I want ice cream, he yelled at the sky.
Well, do you mind waiting a bit?
Scrooge said.
I think I can. No, I'm sure I can recreate that flavor properly.
Goofy nodded.
Guess we gotta wait.
See you later, Uncle Scrooge, Donald said.
Bye.
Scrooge nodded weakly, and the trio started heading farther into town. I want ice cream. Come on, ice cream! Sora kept insisting, his sweet tooth getting the better of him. Goofy cocked his head.
You really like ice cream that much?
Everyone likes ice cream. Whack! Ain't that the truth? Donald agreed. See? It's sweet and cold and... Huh? Sora paused, confusion creeping over his face again.
What? That's ice cream, all right.
Yeah, sweet and cold and... I don't know. It felt like he was forgetting something. Cold, sweet, and what else? Oh well, that's what makes ice cream great. He nodded decisively to himself. Just then... Sora! The voice came from above. They found the source on the rooftops. A girl with short black hair. Yuffie? Hey there! She hopped down lightly and sprinted over. Looks like you're doing okay, Sora said. What'd you expect? Yuffie grinned. How are Leon and everyone? Asked Donald, waddling up to meet her. Just great. Hey, Sora, did you get a little taller? Yuffie stood next to Sora, comparing their heights. Heh heh heh. Sora laughed boastfully and then asked her a serious question. Hey, Yuffie, have you seen Riku or King Mickey? Nope. She shook her head. So they probably hadn't been here. Sora slumped in disappointment. Oh. Yuffie smiled at him. I had a feeling I'd see you guys again, though.
We may never meet again, but we'll never forget each other,
Sora said, deepening his voice and affecting a serious manner. Right? That was what Leon had told him when they said goodbye at Hollow Bastion before. Is that your Leon impression? Yep, you got it. Sora and Yuffie shared a glance and giggled. Everybody's over at Merlin's house. Come on! Yuffie took off, and Sora, Donald, and Goofy tagged along behind her. In a room made of white marble, a large mirror reflected Demyx as he prepared to leave for the mission. He took particular care with his hairstyle, painstakingly manipulating the brown strands with a comb to make them stand up straight. Saix observed him from behind with what appeared to be distaste. In stark contrast to Demyx, Saix left his long blue hair unstyled. The X-shaped scar on his forehead was all the style he needed. What do you want? I'm kind of busy. Irritated, Demyx turned around. Instead of responding, the other man simply disappeared. Excuse me? Demyx shouted at the space where Saix had been standing. And then, as if to take Saix's place, Xigbar appeared with his hood low over his eyes. Ready yet? Yeah, just about. Demyx replied apathetically. You know, Xigbar, I don't really think I'm the best suited for tailing somebody. Orders are orders, and you can't go against the big man himself. Or did you forget? Not the most satisfying answer. Demyx scowled and leaned on the sitar with his hand. Anyway, you're gonna be saying hello first, Xigbar added. Huh? The hero and his little entourage are out and about. Saix heard their voices. Uh-huh, Demyx said, more like a sigh than a response, and frowned. He couldn't hear their voices. He may have been assigned a number, but he knew perfectly well that he just wasn't cut out for fighting. All he could do was control water by playing music. He didn't think of himself as especially strong, and shadowing the Keyblade wielder, or rather Roxas, really didn't sound like much fun. Still, he couldn't defy the organization. For that sole reason, he had to follow his orders. Time to get going, Xigbar said. Okay. Demyx shouldered his sitar and vanished. He really is a handful. Xigbar chuckled to himself and likewise disappeared from the room. Inside the little house, Leon, Aerith, and Sid were all somberly studying a big computer screen. Aerith let out a tiny sigh, and the next moment the door banged open. The three inside started, ready to defend themselves, but it was only Yuffie, standing there with a grin. Don't scare people like that, Yuffie, Leon scolded. Then 3 more people crowded in behind her, Sora, Donald, and Goofy. Meet the Hollow Bastion Restoration Committee, the ninja announced to the newcomers. Oh, we've missed you. Aerith greeted them with a cheerful smile.
Well, looks like you're all in shipshape condition,
Sid announced, getting up from his chair in front of the screen. You could say hi too, Leon, Yuffie prompted. Leon folded his arms sternly and muttered,
I knew it.
Knew what? Asked Sora, clueless.
Just recently, everyone suddenly remembered you three, all at the same time.
The three in question shared a puzzled look. You remembered? Sora said. Hey, does that mean you forgot about us? Donald hopped with anger. Gee, thanks. We're sorry. Aerith bowed her head contritely. But how had anyone forgotten them in the first place? So, where you guys been all this time? Yuffie asked them.
We were sleeping, I guess,
Goofy said, sounding fairly unconcerned.
Not a care in the world for you guys, huh?
Sid remarked. It's all right now. Aerith smiled sweetly at them. We're all together again, aren't we? Yeah, we're glad to see you guys too, Sora agreed. Seeing everyone gathered here lifted his spirits. He'd been afraid they would never see one another again. Oh yeah, we're looking for Riku and King Mickey. Have you seen them? Aerith and the others silently checked to see if anyone had, then shook their heads. Oh, okay. Sora's head drooped in disappointment. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help, okay? Aerith said, stepping toward him.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm glad she wants to help, Sora thought.
Don't go thanking us yet,
Sid cautioned with a pointed glance Leon's way, plunking down in his chair again.
This town has a problem. A big problem.
Leon explained for him. You mean like nobodies and heartless? Sora guessed. Right, exactly. Yuffie leaned in. Sounds like a job for us.
Then let's cut to the chase,
Leon said.
Sora, Donald, Goofy. We were hoping you might give us a hand around here.
Sora crossed his arms and smirked at how earnestly Leon posed the question. Like we're gonna say no?
I forgot who we're dealing with.
Leon moved toward the door.
Come with me to the Bailey. There's something you need to see.
Just as Sora and his friends went to follow him, there was a mysterious poof, and a cloud of white smoke to block their way.
Oh, so there you are.
Standing in front of them was Merlin, the magician. Merlin! Donald ran up to him. The wizard was his own teacher and a great magician. Sora and the gang said they're gonna help out, Yuffie excitedly informed him.
Oh, splendid. We're counting on you.
Yes, sir, the trio chorused.
Ah, Aerith, did you give them those little things?
Oh! At Merlin's reminder, Aerith reached into her pocket for something. Here, they're presents for you. She held out 3 cards. Leon thought you might like to have them. Sora, Donald, and Goofy each took one. Sora's card had his name on it with a picture of the castle and a few words. Hollow Bastion Restoration Committee Honorary Member, he read proudly. Membership cards, Donald crowed, holding up his over his head. Goofy excitedly clutched his in both hands. Pretty neat, huh? Thanks, Huh? Did he leave without us? Sora fretted, finding that Leon was no longer in the house. The man hadn't even waited to see if they were with him. Uh-oh! The trio ran outside, but the street was swarming with Heartless. Whack! Donald jumped at the sheer numbers.
Gee, why are there still so many Heartless around?
Goofy complained, slumping at the thought of yet another skirmish. It seemed like there were only more of them since they'd closed the gate. Well, we'd better find Leon, Sora said, brandishing his keyblade. The other two nodded. From Merlin's house, the Bailey was down a few alleys and up some stairs. Come on, let's go! The Heartless fell left and right as they made their way toward it. He ran up the steps to the top of a massive wall. From there, in the distance, he could see a huge castle, one he recognized. That's where we fought Maleficent, isn't it? Sora said, not taking his eyes off of it. Goofy leaned out a bit. Is this the castle wall? Yeah, 'cause we're going to the Bailey, Donald told him with an all-knowing air. Their fight against Maleficent seemed so long ago. As Sora gazed pensively at the castle, Goofy called from behind.
Leon must be waiting for us. Let's go.
Right. They continued until they could see part of the stronghold in front of them. Is that the Bailey? Donald asked without slowing down.
It's gotta be,
Goofy replied.
That took you long enough.
They found Leon staring at the castle from the stronghold, just like they'd been doing.
Look at that.
Leon pointed to a writhing mass filling the grounds around the castle.
We want to restore Hollow Bastion to what it used to be. Or, who knows, maybe something even better. There's still a lot to do, but we can handle everything, except for that.
He shook his head at the horde of silver creatures below.
Are those all nobodies?
Sora murmured. Leon nodded. Those creatures they'd fought in Twilight Town. Not heartless, but nobodies, as Yen Sid had called them. Whack! But it's full of heartless, too! Donald had spied the swarm and sprang up. So, for some reason, Hollow Bastion was teeming with both nobodies and heartless.
Sora, do you know what's going on?
Asked Leon. This guy called Pete is up to something with the heartless as part of his plan, but he's pretty dumb. I think we can deal with him. What we need to worry about is... Sora folded his arms and inclined his head. Goofy finished the sentence for him.
Those nobodies in Organization 13 fellas in charge of them.
He sighed, and then...
You rang?
An unfamiliar voice addressed them in a deep, intimidating baritone.
You're doing well.
The next greeted, belonging to a different man. Who's there? Sora shouted.
It's a reunion. We should celebrate.
The deep voice gave a quiet, sinister chuckle.
Sora!
Leon called. He turned to find a cluster of nobodies. Whack! Donald jumped in alarm, clutching his wand tightly.
I'll take care of this side.
Gunblade in hand, Leon rushed at the nobodies. Sora charged in the other direction. Okay, I've got this side. Fire! The nobodies slid right under Donald's spell. Their movements were so strange they were almost impossible to hit. Quit wriggling around! Sora yelled as he caught one with the Keyblade.
The Keyblade, a marvelous weapon,
said that voice. Show yourselves, Sora demanded, still relentlessly bashing nobodies. The mocking laughter seemed to echo from inside his own skull. The boy shook his head. That voice, that laugh, it was horribly unsettling. And not just unsettling, something else.
Sora!
Leon called him back to the present. When Sora turned, he saw a pack of men in black cloaks. They were standing on the opposite wall, looking down at Sora and his friends.
Organization 13!
Cried Goofy. There were 6 of them, hoods obscuring their faces.
Oh, good!
I can take you all out at once! Sora shouted, losing himself in his frustration. He couldn't stand the sound of their laughter.
What a shame. And here I thought we could be friends.
The man in the center said, chuckling again as a dark space yawned behind him. The figures disappeared into it. Hey, wait! Donald shouted, dashing ahead to pursue them.
Careful there.
One of the organization materialized again right in front of Donald's bill. Donald! Behind him, Sora stood with the Keyblade ready. You, move!
That's not very nice, shutting me down like that.
The man teased. I mean it! Get out of the way!
You can talk all you want, but you can't actually do anything about it, so...
The man shrugged as if Sora's threat was of no concern whatsoever. Then we'll make you move, snapped Donald. Fire! He waved his wand, but the spurt of magic fizzled out just before reaching the man's cloak.
Sure, that would work, if I were just any old guy. Except I'm not. I'm with Organization 13. Nothing any old about me.
Ha! Sora barked, disgusted. That's real tough talk from someone who stood on the sidelines watching his nobody flunkies doing all the fighting.
Oh no, I think you got the wrong impression,
the man said, completely unruffled, and tilted his head thoughtfully.
Why don't I remind you how tough this crowd really is?
Remind me? Sora echoed. What's he mean by that? What did we forget? What have I forgotten? The man burst out laughing.
That's right, he used to give me that exact same look.
Sora glared at him.
So you think you could psych me out by saying really random stuff? Well, who knows?
He said smugly, as if to provoke Sora further, and raised one arm. Inky darkness seeped up from under his feet.
Be a good boy now.
The man vanished, seeming to melt away into the blackness.
Wait!
Sora dashed to where the man had been standing, and Donald skidded after him, but the man was gone without a trace.
That was weird. Who gave him that same look?
Sora lowered the keyblade.
Who was he talking about?
I think maybe he's just trying to confuse you,
Goofy assured him, cocking his head.
Yeah, you're right. There's only one me.
Sora nodded to himself and helped Donald up from where he'd fallen. As he did, the committee membership card slipped out of his pocket.
Oops, don't want to lose that.
Sora picked it up and it began to glow.
Huh?
Surprised, he let go of it and the card floated into the air. At the same time, a shine enveloped the keyblade too.
What's going on?
Leon ran up to them.
I think maybe...
Sora held the key aloft and a beam of light shot from it. Ahead, the glow from the membership card took the shape of a keyhole. Light struck light with the click of a lock opening.
Yeah, I get it,
he murmured as he lowered his hand.
So this is one of those gates that Master Yin Sid was talking about,
Goofy said, watching the luminous keyhole dissipate. Sora nodded.
It's gotta be.
Oh boy, we did it! Donald struck a victorious pose.
Sorry to run, Leon, but it looks like the other worlds are calling.
Sora waved to him.
Yeah, looks that way.
We'll be back. Donald gestured with his wand rather than his hand.
Organization 13. They sound like serious trouble,
Leon said.
Be careful out there.
We will.
Sora nodded forcefully.
See you soon.
He looked up at the space where the keyhole had been. Maybe the king was there through the gate. And Riku too. The thought made his heart pound. But who was it? Who had that man been talking about?